Osaka Bay, around the cities of Osaka and Kobe, is the biggest center of industry in Kansai, the region we're featuring in this series. It's one of the best places in Japan to find the answer to the question, what does a Japanese industrial region look like and how does it work? The beginning of the answer lies not on land, but out at sea in Osaka Bay. A constant procession of ships brings a vast range of goods and raw materials in from abroad. In a country like Japan, which has practically no natural resources of its own, these sea routes converging on the ports of Osaka and Kobe are the region's lifelines. The waterfront areas handle the processing of the list of raw materials that feed the Japanese economy. The list is a long one. Oil, 99.7% from overseas. Coal, 99.8%. Copper, 98.7%. Iron ore, 99.8%. Even 3/4 of the country's wood is shipped in from abroad. Just behind the waterfront stands the city itself. Osaka is the second city in Japan after the capital, Tokyo. With a population of nearly 9 million, it's the largest in the Kansai region. Here are the headquarters of many of the big Japanese banks and corporations. Every evening of the week, Sundays included, the city's non-stop entertainment and shopping districts come to life. Electric City is the district of Osaka given over to the worship of electronics. The latest advance in every field of gadgetry shows up here, and the competition between the companies is cutthroat. Japan has staked its very existence on taking the high-tech road. In Osaka's Electric City, it hits you right between the eyes. The story behind this amazing selection of goods on sale in the Hi-Fi district begins, however, in quite a different sort of place. It's half an hour's drive from the glittering lights of the city centre. It lies to one side of the massive motorway that runs around the outskirts. Every large city in Japan has an area like this. It's the workshop district, where the hard graft behind the glitter goes on. "90% of Japanese companies are small. This is the bottom end of the production ladder where the might of Japanese industry begins. Mrs. Yamazaki works with her husband from a converted garage where they make plastic parts. Their daily routine is for Mr. Yamazaki to begin work in the early hours and for his wife to take over after having done the household chores. This two-person business is the start of a process that leads on a long way from here. The next stage is the daily delivery of what they made to the company Mr. Yamazaki supplies. It's a bigger one run by two brothers, the Kawatas. The Kawatas are the next step up in the production chain. There's a tight human web that binds one company to another in Japan. It's the lifeblood of the whole system.
I don't
think it's an exaggeration to say that the small hand-to-mouth companies like ourselves keep the Japanese economy going.
With 18 employees, they make a range of products like the tops of car batteries and their own sports equipment. Another line is safety goggles. When things are really busy, the eldest son, who's still at university, comes in to give a hand. "60% of Japanese goods come from small companies like this.
Business here operates like a pyramid. At the top, there are the big corporations, and below them, supporting them, are the medium and the small-sized businesses. We are somewhere in the middle.
The Kawatas build up trust with their customers over a very long period. It's something they have in common with all Japanese companies, large and small.
Our number one customer is a company whose top person died at the same time as my father last year. I've kept the relationship going. So now we've been doing business with this company for almost 50 or 60 years. I'm running the business the way my father would have liked me to. And I'm pretty sure that everything will be all right, as long as we maintain quality, look after our customers, and keep our prices down.
Japanese industry hasn't escaped the world recession, and the competition is very tough, both at home and abroad. To keep the orders rolling in, the Kawatas constantly have to update their equipment. They've just won 2 new orders, one from Italy for sunglass lenses, another, which is really important to them, for 100,000 lenses for the latest Panasonic camcorders. To cope with these orders, though, they had to take out big loans to buy the expensive machinery needed for plastic processing. Going into debt was a risk worth taking.
Well, this sort of thing isn't forced on us, and we've been careful to make sure that the amount we've spent on the new equipment is based upon how we see the future and our estimate of what we can afford to pay back. So long as the business is doing well, we can pay back some of the debts and at the same time take out more loans.
20 kilometers across the sprawl of Osaka City is the place where the Kawata's camcorder lenses will eventually end up. At the top of the region's industrial pyramid, at Panasonic. Here, as with all the other top Japanese electronic companies, the goal is to stay ahead of the competition at all costs. Ahead in the way the companies run, and ahead in what it makes. And to do this, it spends fortunes on research and plans things years in advance. Panasonic's next pitch for the market is Flat Vision, a TV set only 12 centimeters deep. There will be many more new products waiting to be released, each one just different enough to tempt the customer to buy. When it comes to the assembly lines, the combination of people and intelligent machines has been tuned to a very high pitch. Robots were first developed in Japan and are now capable of the most delicate tasks. Where people are concerned, the traditionally close ties between management and staff are as strong as ever. They meet frequently and they talk and really listen to each other. This Japanese way of doing things in industry has been copied all around the world. What Mrs. Yamagami, a supervisor of 8 robots, has to say about this system still echoes the views of the vast majority of Japanese.
It makes my own work a lot easier, and everything runs a lot more smoothly. Once I've put a bit of thought into it, it's good for the company and it's good for me. So, both sides benefit from my trying to improve things.
If it's good for the company, it's good for you. One of the mottos that keeps big Japanese corporations ticking over, and one of the many things that makes them rather special. From exercises in the tea break to multi-million-pound research programs that look far into the future. And no matter how big or rich the company, around the back is the down-to-earth side of the operation. For 24 hours a day, the boxes of vital bits and pieces arrive from the city's small workshops on their way into some of the world's most advanced high-tech goods. What we've seen so far is really a sort of supply line for the electronics industry operating in Osaka Bay. The line starts with the import of a raw material, like oil. The oil goes to the petrochemical works on the waterfront, which produces plastic. The plastic goes to the workshop area in Osaka, where the small companies turn it into components and send them on to the electronic giants like Panasonic. And then, if you follow the network on from there, exports will take it to no less than 160 countries throughout the world where Panasonic goods are sold. Out in Osaka Bay, there's another part of the region's industrial scene still on view, but only just. There's not much old industry like this left in Japan. All this area is owned by Nippon Steel. Demolition of the steel works started 10 years ago. Much of the plant was just too far gone to modernize. Many of the workers are still nostalgic about the old days.
There was a big blast furnace over there where you can see the remains, and there was a great pile of iron ore where we're standing now. The raw materials were taken and carried up to the top by belt conveyor. And then, right next to it, boiling water was pouring out, with sparks flying all over the place. I was really disappointed when they closed it down. It was the time when the furnaces were in their best condition. There were no problems. We kept on surpassing our previous production records. It seemed such a waste to destroy them. Eventually, this will be a vacant lot, and they're going to build on it. I would like to be involved in some way while I can still work.
But in Japan, the end of an industry doesn't always mean the sack. These young men from Nippon Steel are part of the new generation of technocrats who are taking the company into new activities to replace steel making. Tetsuya Shimizu and his colleagues are working on one of the company's latest schemes to set up new businesses. Their speciality is working on the high-tech frontiers of robots. Switching people within a company from one job to another is very much a Japanese way of keeping people in work and coping with industrial change. Even in a company with a 100-year history of making steel, people are now well and truly moving down the high-tech road.
My section is developing automation for factories for some of our clients. We're working out ways of designing systems where robots take the place of human beings.
Tetsuya is working on the design of a robot system that will move boxes around conveyor belts in factory warehouses, so that the right parts can be sent to the right place at the press of a button.
Technology is advancing all the time. Each branch of technology has its own specialists. But the important thing is how to make use of it and make sure that all the specialists work together towards a common goal. We're working towards the sort of integrated system which uses technology from several different fields, not just electrical or mechanical, but a combination of both.
Japan's huge commitment to high-tech is now beginning to have an effect on the look of the landscape in a big way. Way outside of Osaka City, in no less than 15,000 hectares in the Kansai countryside, land is being cleared for new so-called science cities. So far, it's only the first buildings that have been put up, but eventually there will be 11 sites for research centers paid for by leading Japanese corporations. The job of science cities will be very straightforward, to make sure that Japan's high-tech stays ahead of the rest of the world. This man isn't suffering from a strange disease. He's part of an experiment to develop a new form of long-distance communication. It's a kind of virtual reality which allows one person not only to see and speak to somebody else halfway around the world, but it also enables both of them to handle a computerized image of an object as though it were real. But no matter how high the high-tech becomes, it will still be up to the small businesses to make the necessary components. Does Mr. Kawata think the small companies will be able to carry on, as they've always done?
I think personal relations have become weaker in Japanese companies. There aren't so many people taking over family businesses now. In Japan, we have jobs that are called the 3D jobs. Dirty, difficult, and dangerous. Young people are turning away from these types of jobs, and we now have foreigners coming into Japan to do them. I think it will be more and more difficult for a business to find someone in the family to take over.